So today we will try and build a sort of a glitch setup that you can load in any of your patches. I will save it as a preset. You can load it if you have VRAC Pro. You can load it in your DAW and use it in your projects. Just something fun that you can use with drums, with melodies, with all sorts of different sound sources, right? So here I have a simple bass loop, right? Nothing amazing. Right, and this will be our sound source. Here I have a list of all of the effects that we will add slowly. And let's start with the crash effect, right? Everything we need for glitch. We will have stutters, phasers, filters, bit repeats, all sorts of different fun things. So let's start with shaper. Now I'm going to set this to crash. Of course, needless to say, I will use only 3 available modules, so all of you can download this and use it in your projects. Of course, there are also commercial alternatives that you should explore, but in this video I will use only 3 available modules. Right, so we have here crash. Everything will be in stereo also, by the way. Right, and we will start with this. Right, we can create a sort of a crash effect, nice for all sorts of glitches. But what you can see here is that basically, if I take this out for a second, basically we don't have any mix control or some sort of way that we can bring this in and out. What I want to achieve eventually is to have a sequencer to sequence all of those glitch effects. Again, in a DAW, you can also automate things easily. Here we don't have this option, but we can quite easily add this option. Let me take this out for a second. With the help of the bypass module from Vult, again, available for free. Basically, it allows us to bypass any module. Right, so the input will come from our drums. Right, this will be the input. Again, in this case, I have a mono signal, but all of the chain will be stereo if you have a stereo signal. Right, so instead of going to shaper, we will go to the input of the bypass module, right? And the output will go then to the output, to the mixer, right? But here we have send and return, so I can send to the effect, to shaper, and return it also from shaper. And now if we take the output, let's take the output to the output. Right now we have this without a crash, and if I toggle this, right, and this can be toggle, so latch or push. We will leave it in toggle. Right, if you want to use the mouse, we will use a sequencer, so maybe it's better to change this to push actually. So just on those steps. Just on those steps, we will have this sound. Let me mute this for a second. Right, we will have shaper coming in and will affect the sound. Now, the sequencer I'm going to use is another Zoom A. I think this sequencer is amazing. It has everything we need in this case. So I'm going to use this one. Of course, you can use any sequencer you like. And again, also in a DAW if you want to automate things, right? So I'm going to use a slower clock. Right, I'm just going to use the quarter notes. Right, the reset will go to the reset. Let's run the sequence and reset everything. Right, so now we have another sequence that we can use with all of the effects. By the way, I have a full video about Zoom A, a full tutorial, a full walkthrough on my Patreon if you are interested, where I go through all of the different features. It's an amazing sequencer. Right, so let's do this. Let's first of all call this crash, so we know what is what. Right, and now what we can do is like this. I can use the first sequence, right, and I will send the gates to toggle, right, toggle the bypass on and off, right, and now I can set steps. So if I bring in the sound, right, now I can set steps. Let's say right, I can have another one. Right, so now I have all sorts of steps and I can add also probability to them. Right here we have the probability set to dice and I can reduce the probability. So there is a chance they will happen, there is a chance they will not happen. Right, already we got nice glitchy sound. Okay, let's again mute this for a second, right? And now we will add a stutter effect, right? This was crash. Let's add now a stutter effect. So the stutter effect, for the stutter effect, we will use the ChronoBlob 2, right? From all right devices. I will take for now the wet all the way down. Now from this, from the bypass module, this will go to the delay, right? We'll create a sort of a chain, right? And let's call this, where is it? Let's call this stutter. Okay, so now if we have the sound again, nothing will happen. Right, let's change the delay time maybe. Right, but now when I freeze the delay, ChronoBlob 2, we can also freeze or loop the delay, and I bring the wet all the way up. We get this, right? If I freeze it with a different, right, we get something like this. We don't need feedback in this case, right? But what we will do is this, right? So first of all, I'm going to do, to use another channel here on the sequencer. We have 8 channels, right? Let's set this to be, let's say 8 steps, right? And I'm going to take the speed. I can multiply the clock just for this track by 2, right? And now what I will do, I will send the gates to trigger or to toggle the loop on and off, right? So as long as the gate is high, the loop will continue looping, right? So let's say, for example, step 3, right? Right, something like this. Nice thing about this sequencer, I can also change the length. So let's have this like a bit longer, this gate. And now the same gate will also open the wet, right? So only when the delay is frozen, it will also be fully wet. Right? Maybe another step. And again, set some probability. Right, and let's use also sample and hold. I will use the same gate to trigger a sample and hold, right? That will modulate the delay times. Let's just see that we have the range set to negative, positive 5 volts in the right click menu, right? Right, we can add here another step, let's say, with probability. Right, so we already have a nice glitchy effect. The nice thing about this sequencer also that we can turn those sequences on and off, right? And of course we have also trigger inputs, right? So we can do this randomly, we can trigger the sequences on and off. Let's turn them both off for a second. Right, so now we don't have crash and we don't have stutter, and let's move on to the phaser effect, right? Which can also be quite interesting. I'm going to use the one from Surge, the phaser from Surge. Let's have another one of these here and call this phaser. I hope I spelled it correctly. Right, and then continue the chain. The inputs will go to the inputs, the outputs will go to the outputs. Right, and let's listen to this fully wet and set a nice setting here. Right, let's do something depth, feedback, somewhere we can really listen to what's going on, right? Right? Something like this. And now again, we can control the mix with another channel, with another track. And we will set another gate for this, right? So the gate will actually bring the mix in and out. Right, so let's do this. Let's have here 16 steps and again multiply this by 2. Right, and have them a bit longer. Right, and with probability. Right, together with the other effects. Very cool. Okay, let's turn them off. And now let's go to the next one, which should be a filter. Right, so for the filter, I'm going to use this joint from Volt. Again, it's stereo, and to the left we have low pass, to the right we have high pass, which is very interesting for this setup. Right, so again, the chain will continue from there. Everything will be available in the description to download. You will get the preset file, which is a selection that you can load from the file import selection. Right, and you can load it in any of your patches. And now what we will do is this. We will not use gates in this case. This will be sequence 4. We will use CV1 and CV2. Each sequence, each track has 2 CV outputs, bipolar CV outputs. Right, so I'm going to use one for the frequency and one for the resonance. Open them all the way, the attenuverters. Right, which means that now negative voltage will turn this here to the left, which is low pass, positive voltage to the right, which is high pass, and we can also modulate or sequence the resonance, right? So let's have a listen to this. Now there is no effect, right? But we can change this. Let's say here, close this a bit. And yeah. No, one is not working. Let's wait for it. Because I didn't activate this step. Sorry. Okay, now. Right, so here we have low pass. And we will have also high pass a bit. Right. And let's say here also more resonance. Right, and again probability, because this is fun. Maybe make this a bit longer. Right, again with everything else. Very cool. Oh, yes, indeed. I'm going to turn them off for now. Right, so already we have, just with this, we already have quite an interesting setup, but we are going even further. Now we will add, I made here a rescomb. Let's go back to favorites, right? Rescomb, which is a comb filter. A comb filter is basically a delay, right? So this should also be quite interesting. So again, we just continue the chain. Let's call this comb, right? And now we will have another track number 5. Now we will do this. First of all, I will use sample and hold. right? The sample and hold, let's zoom in a bit, will modulate the tune, which is basically the delay time, and will modulate the feedback, right? Which is the delay feedback. Let's open this all the way. Right, set it again to negative, positive 5 volts in the right-click menu. And we will get the gate from the sequencer. This will be sequence number 5, right? So this will modulate things, and we will have CV1, which is bipolar, right, to the comb itself. This will activate positive or negative, right? This will basically activate the effect, right? So if now we have nothing, right, and with turning the comb left and right, we will get something. So let's do this. Let's have here, let's say 12 steps. And again, let's run it with the clock multiplication. We can multiply directly from here. And let's have 1, 2, and 3, right? And then each one of them will open differently the comb filter, right? Maybe a bit longer. Oh man, a bit less. This is scary. Right, and again, probability, this can be quite fun per step. Right, so now we have also a comb filter, which is again a sort of a delay basically. Ooh, let's activate everything else. Oh man. Okay, let's turn this down. We go even further. We don't stop here, and there's a fly here bothering me. All right. So now we have bit repeat, which would be also quite fun, right? So this will be with Supercell. Let's call this bit repeat, right? Supercell, which is a clouds clone with all of the different modes, and in the right-click menu there is also the bit repeat mode. Now for this to work, the hold function has to be all the way, so it has to be always on, right? We can also do this with the mix, but I prefer that the hold function will be on. And now the trigger, when you are triggering this, there is a chance that it will basically splice the rhythm, right? So if we listen to this, right, I will take the pitch all the way up because this will be the original pitch, right? With the feedback, we can add pitch modulation. Right, position. So Supercell has built-in modulation just by turning the attenuator. So let's modulate position and size, right? Right, something like this. With the density, we can add even more modulation. The shape will change the slicing modes, so we can modulate the shape. Right, let's take the size down a bit. Right, so like this, just by triggering it, we can get different results. So let's use another gate from the sequencer. Right, let's run this, and this will be sequence 6. Let's multiply this by 4, right, and start adding some. Oh yeah, with probability. Oh, right, something like this. Maybe it's a bit too much. Let's add even more probability so it doesn't happen so often, because we have everything else as well, right? If we turn this on, everything else together. Oh man. Oh, what was this? Ay. All right, let's continue. I'm turning them off. We are still not done. We have Simpliciter now, which should also be quite fun. Right, we are soon finished, and I will show you this also in the DAW. Right, Simpliciter. So I'm going to use Simpliciter, which is a sampler and its expander. And here we can change the playback direction and speed. So what we will do is this. Again, Simpliciter is also stereo. I'm going to send this to Simpliciter, right? And from Simpliciter back to the output. And now what we will do, if I turn the drums on, right, we are going to randomly, again, this fly, randomly record, right? Let's take the mix all the way to the right. So this is now fully dry, right? Randomly record. Let's play this, right? And also randomly change the playback speed and direction and change the mix. Right, so we get something like this. So for this, we need a few things. First of all, we need a gate. So we'll take another gate from the sequencer that will randomly, because we will have probability, activate the record and also randomize the playback direction and speed. Right? And we need something to change the mix, and this will be a CV output. So let's use CV1, right? And we need it to be negative, fully negative, to turn this mix to the left. Right, so let's do this. I will activate, let's go to this sequence. Let's have 16 steps, it's okay. Activate a few of the steps. Right, set probability again for each of them. Right, and set also the CV1 all the way to the left. All right. So now let's go see what's going on here with Simpliciter. Oh yes. Right, we can have also a few steps. Let's say this step will be a bit longer. Wow, this is so cool. Right, this step as well. Oh, okay, everything else together. I'm not so sure I'm ready for this. Where is the sound? Where is the sound? Quite crazy. Of course, if you think it's too much, you can always turn a few off and just activate a few. So for example, the crush and Simpliciter, for example. Right, or let's say the beat repeat and the phaser. Right, and like this you can just activate and deactivate the sequences, right? And of course you can do this randomly, you can do this with another sequencer, you can go really crazy with this setup. It's also not too CPU heavy, by the way, so it should be quite CPU friendly even. Okay, the last one, last and not least, I'm also glitching here, is reverb, because reverb is life. So let's add a reverb. And I forgot to call this here Simpliciter. Right, and here another one, with reverb. Right, so again, we will go just like this, continue the chain, right? And now what I want to do, I want to modulate the decay and size, so we will need a sample and hold. Again, let's make sure it's set to negative positive 5. One will go to the decay, one will go to the size, right? So we'll have also some modulation, and we will have a gate that will open the wet, but it will do another thing. And let me show you this in a second. I will take another gate from here, right? This will go and will open basically the wet amount, and will also trigger the sample and hold, and it will also hit here, it will trigger here the clear function that will clear the reverb. So each time it comes in, it will be fresh and it will not be too muddy and whatnot. So let's open this just a bit. This reverb can be quite aggressive at times. So let's have a listen to this. Right, let's have some gates. This will be sequence 8. Let's go with, let's say, 10 steps. Let's see. Oh yeah. Right, this can be a bit longer with probability, with probability, with probability. Let's actually multiply this by 3. Or maybe multiply by 2 just so it has some time. Right, maybe this can be even longer. Maybe do this. Right, you hear that it's quite aggressive, so I'm just going to take this down a bit. Right? Let's activate all of them and see what will happen. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Oh man, this is glitching a bit, I would say. All right, I'm going to save all of this chain. I'm going to save with the reverb also, of course. Going to save as a preset, again, as a selection that you can load into your patch. I will save also the sequencer if you want. If you want to use it. If you don't, you can use a different sequencer. You can do this randomly, or you can use this manually, even with the mouse or with a MIDI controller. Let's have quickly a look at how this will work in a DAW. So here we are in Bitwig. I want to show you how this setup, this glitch setup, will work also in a DAW. I'm using Bitwig. You can use Ableton, Cubase, whatever. If you have VCVREC Pro, you can use it in other DAWs as well, right? So here I have some drums. Right, very simple drums, and I have here an instance of VCVREC. As you can see, I just loaded, right, all of the setup, but I'm using only a few effects. So there is the crash, and I believe also the stutter, right? So it will sound like this. I have here a few gates, as you can see here. Right, with probability changing, activating the different effects. So if I bring this in, and the reverb also, right? So it takes this simple drum beat and creates a bit more, something a bit more interesting with movement. I have here also a sort of a voice, I guess, with a phase 4 voice from Bitwig. Just playing those notes. And I added again VCVREC. In this case, there is some stuttering going on and also res comb, so also a comb filter, right? So if I turn it on, right, so you don't have to use this just for drums. This will work also with melodic voices. Right, so again, it's quite a fun setup, again, with the drums. I also have here a bass just for fun. Right, so you can hear the glitches. Right, so again, it's quite a fun setup. Again, links in the description. You can download it. It's only free available module, so you can only use it. You can build on it. You can use some of it. You can use it in a DAW. You can trigger everything randomly or with a sequencer or whatever. I'm going to play this a bit. I have here the Juno 6 from Arturia. I'm just going to jam a bit on top of this. Thank you for watching. Cheers.